We're back. Ah, there we go. Look, so a smooth start like always. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Boys from the Baltic Star. It is Friday night, which would normally mean it's Traveller night. It's a very standard night on the Baltic Star. But it's like, like we know, the day after Monday's Tuesday, and the morning after 14 pints is a bad morning. We also know that Friday's normally Traveller. And that's those Fridays we're not playing it. And tonight is one of those nights. Our beloved boy, it sounds wrong when I say it like that. Our beloved boy Ewan wasn't able to make it tonight, but we've upgraded. It's like it's just like Pokemon. He's gone through his little evolution, and he sprouted some wings, and got a slightly more powerful attack. And we've got John instead. John is back, the housewife's favourite. It's the man with the sexiest voice on the internet, and he's classing this place up a little bit, quite frankly. Don't dob us into him.
You're building me up too much, Luke. Please don't.
Oh, it's only the first 14 I remember, Kelly. After that, it's who knows. So yes, tonight we're not playing Traveller. For those eagle-eyed among us, there's nothing sci-fi on the screen, except my Bast t-shirt, of course, available from our spring store. It says Bast and everything. Oh, my knees are knackered. So, there it is, Bast. Yes, that's available if you wish it. But instead, we're playing something slightly different. So please don't run away if you're thinking it's Traveller. I hope we can bring you a little bit of excitement and enjoyment. If it is your first time, welcome. Please hang out, stay. Please feel free to lurk or chat. Our chat is very friendly. Hopefully you've noticed already. Out of, say, Ben, John and myself, if we're not necessarily busy at one moment, we might be able to join in a bit in chat. Potentially. Don't hold us to it. Feel free to chat about the game or something completely different. Feel free to bring in little suggestions that one of us might actually build in to the story. Who knows? Also, if you click on the red sun, that's a way to spend Imperial credits. There are some things to spend them on. They'll be slightly different to the Traveller. If you're normally only here for Traveller, you might notice some aren't there and some are there. They're slightly different. We change them a bit each day. But I think that's about it. If you don't follow us on Twitter, @BoysBaltic, Instagram, Boys and the Baltic Star. There's a Discord somewhere that someone will add. Is our Discord up to date? Have we got the exclamation mark Discord working thing? Yeah. Discord, I don't know. Oh, it is. I don't know if that link correct though. Someone was telling me it was taking them to the wrong place. Hopefully that's right there. So anyway, let's get started. I'll introduce what we're playing, introduce our characters, who will introduce themselves, our beloved players, and then we'll get started. So we're playing a game called it's not really got a name, really. It started because I needed to plan something last minute a couple of months ago, and it's just become this lovable adventure with two beautiful characters. The biggest bromance this side of I don't know where, quite frankly. It is the Tony and Rudi adventures, and so there they are, Tony and Rudi. They're set in the 1930s, or they have been so far. I'm still hoping for one set in the 80s when they're old, in like an old people's home.
Very old.
I quite like the idea of it. So, but until that point, they're set in the 30s, and the first one was set on a train, and this one is set on a small steamliner in the Mediterranean. More of that in a minute. And we've already started developing some memeing off it. Poor old Tony's trousers are always stained. So if ever we mention Tony's trousers are stained, everyone has to drink. if Rudi ever mentions his boxing record, you have to take a shot.
That's a perfect drinking game.
So keep your ears out and keep your minds and your glasses full. So that's what that is. My name's Luke. I'll be leading the adventure tonight. I guess we're playing using Those Dark Places rules, which is for sci-fi, but the best reason for using it is it's a really straightforward 1d6 system, which has just the right amount of skills for what we need. Really, it's perfect. That's it. That's all we need. Anyway, that's enough of me talking. You're not here for me. You're here for these two. So let's start with our usual boy, the man who spends his entire life in the Twin Peaks dream sequence. the man who's the smartest man in any room, except maybe tonight's.
Yeah, not tonight.
The man who surrounds himself with topless, heavily oiled men holding up that curtain behind him. It is, of course, Bucky himself. Ben. Good evening, Ben. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Yeah, very well. And much looking forward to this. These are always enormous fun.
They're good, aren't they? You seem to inhabit your character a bit too well.
Yes. Yeah, there's a bit of internal fan service going on, I think.
So speaking of this character you love so much, tell us about Tony Guerrero, Ben.
Tony Guerrero, he is an Italian academic who was a little bit reserved in the first adventure, but since has discovered that he accidentally turns out to be Indiana Jones, and therefore now has much more daring do about him.
He has. He leveled up since the last adventure and now has a +1 to anything that requires daring do. So that's for you guys in the chat as well. If there's a point where you think some daring do comes into being and he needs to roll for it, let us know and he gets a +1. Now, he may be the one with the daring do, but he's not the muscular fighty one here tonight. Because that is played by our good friend John. Good evening, John. How are you?
Hello, hello. I'm super glad to be here, eager and excited to play Rudi Otto. I am John from Legitimate Games, and tonight I will be playing a man that was born in Germany, although he has spent most of his life in a traveling circus around Europe and maybe other continents as well. Why not? He was introduced into bare knuckle boxing from an early age, and by his 20s he turned pro. His record, his official record, was 9-0, and he retired undefeated because as he was getting more mature, I would say, it was academia who actually stole his heart and not boxing. And although he was really old, and many people said it wasn't fit for a life of studying history and cultures, and but he did, and afterwards he became actually another Indiana Jones type of figure, an adventurer. And quickly he discovered, actually not quickly because he's at his 50s now or something, but eventually he discovered his lovable duo, his partner in crime and in solving crimes, Tony. And yes, after beating up some cultists here and there, solving riddles and whatnot, he is found in the SS scans for today's session. Woo.
You see, Rudi has all the skills. He has the fists, but he has the brains as well.
Not that much. Charisma based, rather.
Although he does have the +2 to fighting and the +2 to history. So if anything turns up for you guys, especially fighting is pretty clear. But if anything comes up history based, guys, let me know, let us know, and we'll add a +2 to his roll. Of course, there wasn't so much history back then. About 90 years less than there is now.
It's true. There's a lot less history.
So these are our friends, they're colleagues, they're like museum curators, but also fortune hunters, treasure finders, that sort of, the daring do, the history. Just you can picture it in your mind. Think of all the films and books. And what I've done before I do the introduction for where we're at is I've put up the passenger manifest on the screen. It won't stay there, but it can come up if people need it, because there were quite a few names introduced last week. The guys have the passenger manifest themselves, but if anyone in chat needs a reminder of who people are, just ask and I can remind you, or the guys in game can no doubt discuss them. But yeah, so there are 2 dead at the minute, just as a heads up. Ahmed Hassan and Shirley O'Neill are sadly not with us anymore.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Anyway, shall we get started? Shall I give the introduction and set you up ready to go as we come back for tonight's Tony and Rudi adventures on the SS Cans? If there's anyone musical in chat, write a nice piano piece, please, that we can use as intro music. Okay. Welcome back to the SS Cans. Maybe not the jewel of the Mediterranean, but not a bad little steamliner if I do say so myself. The year is 1937, and it's 2 years after that fateful day aboard the Vienna Express, when our heroes Tony Guerrero and Rudi Otto... I'm aware the camera's gone, by the way, because I've had to flick to another screen, and it kills the cameras. Our heroes Tony Guerrero and Rudi Otto foiled the dastardly and deadly plans of the cult of Artemis. With Rudi taking the brunt of the injuries, our beloved German former boxer rehabilitated in a Swiss sanatorium, trying to keep in shape with a touch of boxing as his injuries slowly recovered and his waistline pushed ever outwards. His friend, the younger Tony, visited quite regularly, and the two decided upon a magnificent adventure for when Rudi was fit enough for travel and feats of daring do once more. Both respected museum curators and noted treasure hunters, our heroes headed to Morocco to hunt down the mythical bracelet of Mary Magdalene, a legendary icon believed to have been taken to and hidden in Morocco after the sacking of Constantinople in 1204. It was said that it was worn by Mary Magdalene herself on the day of Christ's resurrection and would provide the wearer with the direct ear of the Lord himself. Our heroes had indeed found it. Years of research, thousands of lira, pounds and Moroccan francs, and pulling together all the favours they were owed, enabled them to hunt down what they truly believed to be this incredible find, and they headed back on the first ship from Casablanca to Marseille. However, as our friends indulged in pre-dinner food, a late brunch if you will, and drinks on the moon deck of the SS Cans, nefarious deeds were afoot, as Tony was soon to find out, heading down to his cabin to find it trashed, belongings strewn about, the bracelet gone from its hiding place, and worst of all, wine over his favourite trousers saved for their triumphant arrival in Marseille. But worse was to come. After conversation with the antiquities dealer Ahmed Hassan over dinner, they received a note from him to meet him on the aft deck. He had information they would find useful, but on arrival all they found was his body, brutally murdered, stabbed repeatedly, his information forever lost. As Tony called out for help, Rudi rushed down into the staff quarters, finding only a few sleeping and relaxing staff. But, most interestingly, a possible clue, a discarded uniform stained with blood, in the locker of Philippe Macron. After being escorted out by staff, he rejoined Tony and the ship's captain, Captain Larice, in Tony's cabin, where Tony lied a little about the importance of the bracelet, but got the captain to stop the ship for now and to carry out investigations. Hearing a noise at the door, Tony rushed out after a running Shirley O'Neill, clearly recognising the description of the item. Chasing after her to speak to her, Tony was unable to reach her before a gunshot rang out from the moon bar. As he arrived panting, he was confronted with the horrible sight of the young American woman bleeding out from a gunshot in her upper abdomen, the shooter nowhere to be seen. Neither Tony or Rudi were able to save the young woman's life as his terrible journey took another life. I went life, that's bad grammar. Her final whispers to find her sister and that man had the bracelet. As the bodies were carefully wrapped up and taken downstairs into a downstairs cabin, Captain Larice called for all the passengers to be put into their rooms and to stay there until dawn, with the crew standing guard around the ship. So, with heavy hearts and the chance of sleep unlikely, Tony, Rudi and the rest of the passengers, those living at least, returned to their cabins, where sleep for some took a long time coming. But they were woken at 7 o'clock the next morning with the sound of the ship's engine starting up again. And that's where we're going to join them tonight.
All right.
Well, I'm going to haul myself out of bed. sort of looking around and thinking something's wrong. For one thing, I don't have any clean clothes yet left. For another, people have been dying all around me over the last few hours. And perhaps most critically, I'm trying to remember the last time I woke up without that fuzzy head from being drunk the night before. Like, I don't like this feeling. It feels too crisp.
As for Rudi, I imagine him waking up a bit earlier than you, like really early actually, and tying up a little cord, like a line from his bed to the other side of the door, and doing that infamous boxer practice that you go underneath it and above it, and stretch up a bit, limber up. Perhaps his physicality will be required once again. So he's getting ready for that. And he will be dressing to his last night's attire, which is a white suit with a white hat and a burgundy vest. That's really eccentric and out of fashion. But that's Rudi. Rudi is obviously a heavyweight boxer. He's really a rather large person. He's not at shape as he was when he was boxing, but he still carries a good punch with him. Can he order some food?
Um,
Some room service, perhaps?
you can certainly. How are you going to go about that? I guess I'm starting to see him. Like, what's his name? Is it Professor Arturo from Sliders?
Yes.
Yeah, and he's always in like a nice suit with that wide brimmed hat and a history of clearly some sort of fighting behind him. I like it. How would you like to call for room service? There's nothing in the room that you can call forward for.
We're not like locked in our rooms or something,
No,
right?
no, you're not. You were just told to go there and no one was allowed to leave.
Okay, then I open the door and I check what's going on in the corridors.
So you guys, for those watching as well, if you look up on the middle deck on the right hand side, if those that are watching, next to the day bar, you've got rooms 1 to 10, and Tony and Rudi are on the bottom row of those. I'll bring up the manifest for those that need to know. I'll move it to one side. Bring it up here. There we go. That's better. So Rudi is in room 8 and Tony is in room 9. So they're very much in the middle at the bottom. Rudi, as you come out of your room, could you please roll for me a charisma check, please?
Excellent. That's 4 plus 4, total 8.
Okay, so using Dark Places rules, for a standard check, an 8 is a success. A 7 is like a success but with a asterisk, and a 6 is a fail. As you come out of the room, there's enough presence about you that there's a couple of sort of deckhands down that side, and one immediately turns to see you. Says, Mr. Otto, good morning. What can we do for you?
Guten Morgen, my friend. Today is gonna be a day where we solve 2 murders. It's a very important day, and for that reason, we will require bacon, egg whites, orange juice, croissants. Maybe he orders a couple of like extreme things to eat for a morning. And that's about it. I'm lagging a bit. I don't know. Yep, I'm back.
Oh, very good, sir. Yes. I see what you mean. Breakfast is a little bit early for breakfast to start, but I think we can bring it to you. Would you like it in your room, or we're opening up the day bar for early risers that just want a coffee or something before lunch? Would you like it in there?
You can bring it in Tony Guerrero's room next to me. I will be going there. Thank you very much.
Okay, very good, sir. We'll be back in about 20 minutes, I suppose. And he sort of scurries off
He scoffs a bit. Very well.
Some of the things you ordered, sir, take a little while at least, you know.
They're really important to solve a murder, you know.
I understand, sir. No empty stomach, of course. And yes.
And then I knock at Tony's door.
Okay, I will open it.
Guten Tag, my friend.
And
It is Rudi.
well, you're a sight for sore eyes. Tell me you brought salami.
Not yet, but I made an epic order that will keep us strong in order to solve this dreadful situation we find ourselves in. Two
Strong
people
is
have
good.
died yesterday, and I reckon we will not allow a third to die today.
Indeed, I'm dressed in a sort of tan shirt this time because it's basically all I've got left that isn't soaked in the blood of the dead, and my least ruined trousers, which I think are my fourth favourite pair.
Oh, yeah. They've only got a few splatters over them. They didn't take the full extent of the broken. These are not the trousers you wanted to land with. They're not your triumphant trousers.
No, these are not victorious trousers.
These were your sort of dusty Moroccan trousers for when you were
Yep.
out and around. Oh.
Yeah, afraid so.
I almost feel
So,
like you need to lose one from all your charisma rolls. I don't get that far. You've got a rugged look about you.
So yes, I welcome Rudi in, of course, and in my brain there's a couple of those sort of cheap wicker chairs in there with a desk table on the side,
Yes.
so we can settle down.
Rudy's too energetic to be sitting down, so he puts his hands behind his back, extends his belly up front, and walks around in your room and says, Tony, there is a bit of information that I haven't shared with you. There wasn't a good opportunity last night to talk with you, but I went down to the downstairs, the B area, B1 to B4, B6 actually, and I discovered on the locker of a man working here, a man called Philippe Macron, that there was a uniform that was a bit bloodied. Now, this could have been if he was working on the kitchen, for example, or it could be an actual lead. Perhaps I didn't bring to the captain's attention either. You're the first to learn of this discovery, because due to the last time, I don't trust the people who work in our transportation, because last time they were the suspects and the ones behind it. But I don't know if it's the same case with this ship. But we should be careful with who we trust. Yeah?
It's good information. Thank you. We don't know, as you say, if Macron is involved. I mean, he could have got a blood splash preparing raw steak. He could have got a blood splash while murdering somebody. Or somebody else could have used his clothing and stashed it in his locker or whatever. But I think we can already suspect it's quite likely he may be French. Not that that's something that automatically makes him guilty of any further crimes. It is a good lead to have, though, and probably worth investigating first this morning. So, what do we know?
How about Shirley's murder? What did you see? Did she say anything before she died?
I was pursuing her up the stairs into the upstairs bar lounge area, and I was just yards behind her, and we, as far as I knew, were alone. There was no one else in the pursuit. When she arrived in the lounge, I heard a gunshot as I was approaching. By the time I got up there, she was already lying on the ground, bleeding. I, in a rather ungentlemanly act, completely ignored this and pursued across the bar to peer out over the balcony to see if I could spot anyone fleeing beyond her.
I would have done the same. Did you?
No,
Scheiße.
no, I was too late. Whoever escaped that way, I was too late to catch them. Only then did I turn back to find out if she was alive, and she was, albeit briefly. From her, I essentially got two things. The first is she was very keen that I go and find her sister. And the second was that she said that the bracelet was something she'd seen in the possession of, and I'm quoting literally here, that man.
Which man?
Well, herein lies the problem, because that's literally what she said. That man.
That man?
That man. So my thinking is it can't be someone she knows well, and it's unlikely to be a woman.
Yes. At least we got that right, yes. Was she shot on the behind? From the... Where
She
was the
was
gun?
shot from the front through the diaphragm area, the top of the intestines.
So, if we narrow down all the male passengers and staff of SS Canal, it won't be more than a dozen or so people, maybe. GM, are they like how many male staff members have we seen?
You've probably seen, I'd say, 60% of the staff are male. That you've seen so far, mostly in the you wouldn't have seen in the kitchen, and you wouldn't have seen in engineering, and up around sort of the captain, where he's doing his steering. You've only seen the captain, but from the serving staff, it's about 60% male, and you've probably seen regularly about a dozen men.
Now, here is my thinking. In the short term, we have to achieve a few things. We first, I think, should find Stella O'Neill, assess whether or not she's safe this morning. In all of the chaos of being sent back to our rooms and trying desperately to get blood out of my shirt, we didn't have time to pursue that last night. But it's important to speak with her because maybe she will know why her sister was lurking outside my cabin last night, and maybe
Perhaps she
will
was
understand
meeting
the bracelet.
someone. Yes.
It's possible, just possible, that
sister
her
would
sister
know.
is in on what was going on or saw the bracelet as well. Then we have a second thing. We need to find out about Philippe Macron. Is he actually someone aboard the ship? Where was he at the time of the first murder, at least? But I think there's another thing we need to do as well. If my timeline is correct, at the moment I was still pursuing Shirley up to the lounge bar, the dining room was at least partly filled with people who hadn't yet finished dinner or drinks.
Carry on.
Who hadn't yet been, scattered around the ship because they weren't meeting somebody at the back of the ship. Which means whoever dropped down from the moon deck may well have run into or past the dining room.
Very interessant, Tony, my dear Tony. He makes that gesture with his mustache, he makes it twirl. As he's thinking, I understand, yes. Perhaps then we should go over the dining room and check out all the passengers, and perhaps, I believe, the man that we are looking for is someone quite agile. Perhaps he moved very fast, didn't he? And perhaps it would be another clue. Not only a man, but a man of some physicality, at least.
Yes, and probably quick thinking.
The thing I was thinking is that the other, may he rest in peace, Ahmed Hassan, who died yesterday, was the only one who could possibly identify the value of our, and he whispers, our bracelet. Perhaps, uh, who was this man that we saw him last night talking with Hassan? Was it the cartographer or someone else? I cannot remember.
He had dinner with the businessman, Ruiz, I think.
Yes.
The one who was sickly. Sickly man, yes.
Yes, we dined with him at our table. Were we? Was that our table?
Yes, it was
Yeah.
Ahmed and Ruiz and the two of you.
Yeah. So, so yes, we dined with them. So we know he spent time with him, and we know that Ruiz has been loitering around the ship's rails quite a lot. But you see, there's this thing at the back of my mind, a question. Why was Shirley murdered? I can understand why Ahmed was murdered. I mean, I'm not in favor of it, but I understand if you had an inkling that he was meeting someone in the quiet on the ship, you overheard something, saw a note being passed, you might think this guy's a liability suddenly. I used his knowledge, as you said, to identify the bracelet and then find it, but now he's a loose end. But why would you kill Shirley? She was about to give us some potentially useful information, and instead of walking into the cabin and saying, I've seen that bracelet, she flees. She runs away rather than tell us who stole the bracelet. And someone then realizes that this, which logically for me seems like something they'd be in favor of, her not cooperating with us, nonetheless makes her an enormous liability. So she overhears us, and her first thought is perhaps to run to her sister, maybe. Someone sees this, understands what it means, and kills her immediately. That's a person of extraordinary violence, very quick thinking, and as you say, extraordinary agility and strength. I think we need to speak to her sister.
Yes, I feel there is one or two parts that we are missing right now. But we will soon discover them. There are no mysteries that we haven't unraveled yet, my friend. We shall leave no stone unturned until justice is met swiftly, and maybe at that time his stomach makes that being hungry noise. Oh, he taps his belly. But first, we need a powerful breakfast before we do anything else. He opens the doors of Tony's room and checks out. Where are my egg whites and bacon? I've ordered them over 20 minutes ago. It's an investigation that we need to solve here. Do you understand how important this is?
The woman that sort of the female deckhand that's sort of outside number 6 sort of looks over at you, and she sort of nods, and as she turns away you can sort of see her roll her eyes a little bit, and she sort of walks over to the stairs and pokes her head down, and within 30 seconds the other guy comes running around the corner, careful as he can, carrying a platter of food, trying not to spill it into the ocean, and sort of like knocks on Tony's door.
About time, my friend.
Yeah.
Good job.
Excellent. We will yank the door open immediately. and wave them in with food.
Please. I hope you enjoy your pre-breakfast brunch.
Rudy starts taking things from the plate before he actually puts it down, like a couple of croissants or something.
Have you just
We are
gone,
behind on schedule. And then shoves them into his mouth.
have you gone for just food or with a coffee or something as well, Rudy? You gone for drink or just the food? You got a nice coffee or tea to go with that, or just the food?
Some
I will
orange
definitely have
juice
some
and lots of water. We need to be hydrated to solve a mystery.
As he's wolfing it down, Tony, I need you to roll an agility check for me, please.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
That's a 3 + 1 is a 4.
Oh, so as you failed basically every agile check. So as Rudy's wolfing it, his arms are flinging out, and he accidentally knocks the glass of water over straight onto Tony's crotch. Just the crotch area is doused in water. Tony tries to get out of the way, but he can't. He sort of stumbles a little bit.
My entire life is cursed.
Oh, apologies, dear friend. Insulting on me a bit, but it's only water. It's not wine, thankfully.
Yes, I mean, at this point, all it can really do is help wash the trousers. So, I will take a croissant and put some bacon in it, making some comment about the salami is an odd shape, and then have a decent swig of coffee, making the sort of mention about coffee is important. You do not want to meet an uncaffeinated Italian.
And as you're finishing up, you hear. So especially for breakfast time, there's always like a bell that sort of rings. A nice one, not a shrill, horrible school bell, but sort of a bell rings around the ship, which is for the breakfast is served. I say breakfast is served. It is, of course, you'll serve yourself. The breakfast is put out, but you will serve yourself.
Okay,
breakfast.
if I may, my good GM.
Yes.
When the breakfast is served, it's been announced. Rudy will take good care because he knows that through the stomach you can solve a lot of mysteries.
Nice.
He wants to see who will go first, who will be reluctant to go or don't go at all to go to eat. And Tony can clearly see him, swooping, sneaking around to see what's going on. And then he whispers, in my experience, the people who have witnessed murders will be very anxious and afraid, and they won't care to eat. Except me, of course, but you know me. So I want to see who will go first, who will be amongst amongst the first to go to eat, because that may give some clues or may not.
Tony's halfway through a bacon-filled croissant going, yes, good point.
Where does Rudy want to set up to look? Are you just looking out the door? Are you standing?
Yeah, like peeping through if it has like that little eye that you look or something.
So you'll be able to see your side, basically, I guess, mostly. Let's put up the manifest for you. So you will see the first person you see walk past you are the couple, Alex and Carla Lebet, who are in sort of the shared room at 10.
Oh, the honeymoon.
Yes, the honeymoon couple. They walk past. They look tired.
Are they being, affectionate when people are not watching them? Now that I'm...
Oh, that's a good question. Roll for me. I'm going to get you to roll a charisma because it's like knowing how people work. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, yeah, seeing how people
Yes.
socialise. Yeah, social skills.
8, 4 and 4 again.
They are. They're definitely. It's the 1930s, so they're not draped on each other and like French kissing each other all the way down. But as you see them
They
walk
are
past,
affectionate,
they are
yes.
affectionate. Yeah. She's sort of clinging onto
They
his
don't
hand
seem
a
to
little
be
bit.
faking it or something.
No.
Okay.
So that's the first people you see, Alex and Carla. I'm going to make a note of this as I go, Alex and Carla. The next person you see no one coming out from that side because they're the only other people on this side. But you do hear some harumphing, which would suggest, and the door bursting open, which suggests that the Colonel is heading in.
I don't consider Colonel suspect unless he's faking being drunk all the time.
Could you both roll for me? I don't know which one I'm going to make this. Let's go for education, please. Could you both roll for me a flat education?
Whoops,
5
4,
plus 4?
nothing.
Okay, nothing for Rudi. So
Rudy.
Rudy's paying attention. Rudy's spying on the couple a bit too excitedly. But what Tony hears after the harumphing, he hears the Colonel say, Miss O'Neill, I'm terribly sorry about last night. And as his voice sort of fades off, which would maybe suggest that Stella has also made an appearance. That's all you can see from that side, of course, because everyone else would be walking past on the other side of the ship.
Okay. I'm going to finish my croissant, enough to take the edge off and drain the last of the coffee. And then step out onto the companionway and make my way meanderingly down to the sort of open area by the shuffleboard.
It's really thematic music.
Immersion.
Yeah, it's just blown out of the immersion straight away. That's all music. It's all the rage in the 30s. So you headed out and made your way to the shuffleboard, was that? Sorry.
Yeah, and then I'm going to lean on the railing on the starboard side of the ship. No, actually, port side of the ship.
I'll go with Tony, by the way, so I follow you.
I'm going to lean on the railing, facing back over the ship. You understand, back to the sea, and smoke a cigarette as nonchalantly as one can on the death ship from hell. And just cast an eye down the other side of the companionway.
Yep.
And through the doors into the dining room as well. See who's there, who's missing, who's settled at which table, that kind of thing.
Okay. So, and you're doing the same, Rudy, did you say? You're both sort of wandering over and looking casual.
Yeah. I suppose I will go as well to Stella O'Neill to pay my condolences.
Yep, okay. So, what I will do then is we'll have Tony looking at people coming and going, whereas Rudi, Stella is sort of heading into the dining room, so you're going straight for her. Is that the idea? So you'll see things from a slightly different angle, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
I turn around and I make a nod to Tony before I go, like with a meaning, like, and then I go.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, Anthony, thanks, Lafarge. Exactly. I would get rid of it if I could, but because I've got so many things open, it's hard. Ewan's really good at getting rid of the bots. So we'll start with Tony, because I feel like Rudy's will lead on more, I guess. So where Tony is standing, there's one more person heading down the walkway towards you, which is Jean. Well done, Ben. Jean's walking, and as he walks past you, he sort of smiles and smiles at you, sort of nods. How are you this morning, Mr. Guerrero?
Truthfully, I feel my breakfast lacked some of the more traditional pepper spices.
Wait, there was another breakfast that I missed?
The croissant was a little heavy
Not
for
like
my
back home.
taste. The butter, not as fresh as I'd like. And two people died in front of me.
Terrible, terrible thing, Mr. Guerrero. Terrible.
Oh, it gets worse than that.
Oh?
My first, second, third, and fourth best trousers have all been ruined.
He sort of stops and looks at you. He sort of looks at your groin and your crotch. You're like, are you feeling okay, Mr. Guerrero?
No, I'm livid.
Oh, I'm sure downstairs they can clean you up if you need it. And he looks a bit awkward, and at the talk of trousers. And he says, maybe see you inside at breakfast.
I wouldn't rule it out, certainly. I hope you enjoy your meal.
I don't know if I'll enjoy it, but I'm quite hungry.
Jean, if I may just bend your ear for a second.
Of course, of course.
Did you hear a gunshot last night?
I did hear a gunshot. It would have been hard to miss it.
Can I ask, at that moment, where were you?
I was by the day bar. The body of the antiques guy, Mr. Hassan. That was terrible to see. I was still in shock with the first one, and to hear the second gunshot go off was horrific.
It's interesting you say that. When you left the dining room, who was left behind? Do you remember?
Let me think. I was one of the last ones out. There was the staff, of course. The colonel had moved quicker than I've seen him. You know, other than when he's chasing after one of the younger women on board. But I think the older couple were there. The English couple. Is it,
The Smiths.
Yes. They were still there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Obviously, I sort of give him a little smile and say, I was kind of hoping you were going to say, when the gunshot went off, well, I was upstairs holding a revolver. But there was too much to hope for.
the gun, no gunshot? What are you talking about? It was a car backfiring.
Yes. Thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate your candor. It's been a difficult time for all of us, but as you can imagine, I'm eager to get things straight in my head to understand how this could have happened.
Oh, putting things together. I hope that the captain and anyone else on the ship that's sort of looking into this can, you know, the police when we get into dock can find out what happened here today. Terrible. As he makes his way to the dining room, you hear sort of a shouting from down the steps, a woman's voice, Jean! And Camille, of course, his girlfriend, comes running down the stairs from the moon deck and rushes to him, and over dramatically they're talking about, we were talking about the honeymoon couple. These were the really over the top, slightly schmoozy ones, and she sort of drapes herself over him as he walks into the dining room.
Have I seen Stella yet?
You haven't, but we're cutting to Rudi, who is about to.
Okay.
So that's what. So he's the only people you've seen come out, Ben, are Jean from the room, or at least down there, and Camille from upstairs.
Okay.
Yeah. As for you, Rudi, so you catch up with Stella just as she's entering the dining room. She's entering on the bottom door, by the two O's where it says dining room, on that side of the ship.
I remove my hat in a sign of respect, and I put it close to my chest, and I approach to her and say, Mrs. O'Neill, condolences. I can only promise you that me and my partner, Tony Guerrero, will do anything we can to find the one who did it and bring him to justice.
Now, she looks horrific, as you'd expect. She's not slept. She's obviously cried most of the night. There are points in the night where you would have heard sobbing even from a few rooms away. She's tried to put some makeup on over the eyes, but it's not doing a good job, and it's already running. Her hair it's just thrown back in a very simple ponytail. She's in the same clothes that she was in yesterday, whereas previously they'd been changing into sort of 2 or 3 outfits a day, you know. She looks, her face is like a ghost. And she sort of nods to you. And she says, "Thank you, Mr. Otto. That means so much. I can't believe she's dead. Who would do that to my sister? She wouldn't hurt a fly, you know. She's never hurt anyone. It just doesn't seem fair."
She must have been an unfortunate victim of circumstance, perhaps. But whatever the case may be, the truth is that man who did it is still loose, and perhaps we're not safe. None of us is. So please take care of yourself, and this might not be over. Rudy's not trying to make her panic, but maybe by keeping her on the edge, that her life is still in danger, might take away from her grief or something.
Roll a charisma for me, please.
Yeah, I would like to succeed that roll. With a 3 and a 4, it is a kind of success.
It is a kind of success. She's obviously taken something to heart from it. And she says, "Thank you again, Mr. Otto. I've got the Colonel." Timing space. Is that so that's a Rudi flex. That's a Rudi flex. I'll put mine away. I could picture Rudi doing that. He says, thank you. The Colonel has offered to stay with me for the rest of the journey, and I will be sticking to public areas, you know, sitting with him at all times, either in here or the day bar.
Do you know what was the last thing your sister told you yesterday? Perhaps there's a clue that you can share with us, some information.
So when that gentleman got stabbed, we rushed down there together, and we were just sort of making our way back after. That's when I lost sight of her. So that was the last time. The last time I saw her was on the aft deck. Beforehand, we'd been in the dining room for dinner, of course. We'd been sat with Jean, the actor, and Camille. The first time we'd really spoken to them the whole trip, it must be said. We didn't get on too well with them. Like there's other people we've gotten on with much better on the journey. Alex and Carla, a lovely couple. We spent many evenings chatting with those. When the Colonel, of course, hasn't taken our attention, we spent a lot of time chatting with those two. Very fascinating. The old couple, Robert and Mary, they're nice too. But yeah. But the last time, yeah. The last time she said something. Could you roll another charisma check for me, please?
The same result for 4 plus 3, 7.
She said, it just feels there's more to some people on this ship than meets the eye, if you know what I mean. And her voice sort of trails off a little.
I don't know what exactly you mean. I'm trying to fish some more information.
If my sister had been getting, the last few days she'd been talking about this, I like this religious thing. Like we're not religious ourselves, but she was talking about, I don't know, some Catholic icon or something. Oh, she got a. We were talking about it on the. Oh, we were talking about it on the second night. Who was it? Who was it we were talking to? And I had a lot of gin that night. It's one of the couples. If it comes back to me, I'll let you know. Okay.
Thank you. Now take good care of yourself and try to find solace in the fact that we will do everything in our power to find the one responsible.
That's very kind of you, Mr. Otto. Thank you so much. And you see her walk through the door and she goes straight over to the table where the Colonel is. And
I will go back to Tony.
How's she coping?
Of course, naturally, she's not at her best. But I managed to extract perhaps some useful information with her. She said that that she and her sister are not religious, but for some reason she started talking about religion some other night. I think she must have been drinking. Stella must have been drinking during the night because she can't remember vividly who was that she was talking about religion and Catholic icons, if you know what I mean. And but she's confused. But it might be one of the couples. She says maybe. So we have the honeymoon couple, the Smiths. Who else is a couple?
That's it, really. We've got two couples.
And between the two, I reckon.
Unless you count, of
Mr.
course, John and
Smith.
Camille, who are coupling,
Yes.
but not actually an official couple.
Oh, interesting. Yes, perhaps them too. Out of the three males of those three couples, who would be the most physical? Most athletic.
It's a good question.
I was asking the
Asking
GM
me.
actually, but yeah, let's say I
Okay.
said it out loud while twirling my
Ma-
mustache.
ma-
Well, let's have an assessment because we've both met everybody, haven't we?
Yes.
Yes.
So
So what do we think?
run. Just generally the most athletic or the most able to do certain things?
The most able to
Both.
shoot somebody and then leap over a balcony quickly.
All of them would be able to shoot someone. Robert's not that old.
Robert's not that.
Well,
old.
he's not 90. He's in his 60s, so he could shoot someone. He probably couldn't jump over the balcony without snapping an ankle, but he could. Anyone, when they're desperate, can do many things. If you're looking at the most athletic from what you've seen, it would be in different ways. Alex is more like Tony in his tan shirt and his dirty trousers. He's sort of a bit more rugged, I guess. Whereas Jean is the actor, so he's very able and athletic, but in that kind of way, I guess.
Interessant.
Difference between someone that actually wrestles bears and someone that acts as someone that wrestles bears. I know.
Okay. So essentially, what we've achieved is we've narrowed down the suspect pool to exclusively the French.
Is it?
It's been your dream all along, ever since we started.
It's living the dream.
Oh yeah, also Philippe is French. Yes. How about that? That the blooded. Perhaps are we going to bring the captain into this? Are we going to cooperate, Tony, with the captain, or should we leave the staff outside for our investigation?
I'm tempted to say we should involve the captain, but not with the first bit where we're asking passengers questions, because the captain would get involved and it would all get formal. It would be like official questions rather than unofficial ones. But we will need him when it comes to investigating the devious Macron.
Yes, I would like to inquire the captain about the whereabouts of this Philippe, and if he's working on the kitchen or not. Not working at the kitchen, why was his shirt bloodied?
Yeah. Though, to be fair, I mean, doing any kind of manual work, you could end up cutting yourself, couldn't you?
And then perhaps we can find the cat if he has one on him.
Yeah, let's
But
do it.
whatever the case, yes, we've narrowed the list of suspects maybe to 3 men. These are good chances. Like those chances.
We need to. I think we do need to track down. Now that we know Stella is safe, the next thing we need to do is try to track down Macron.
As you're talking outside, a commotion starts in the dining room, and you can hear some tables scraping. You can hear a slight crashing, and you can hear raised voices.
It sounds like another bottle of wine's been thrown over. Somebody's trousers are not getting out of this alive. Well, if there is a loud noise, I'm running in there immediately.
Yes. Naturally, I go to.
Okay, so as you go in, you see a mixture of people sat at their tables with plates of food long forgotten that they've sort of been up for. You see some people stood aside, a couple of the women gasping or being sort of held back by their partner or whatever. And in the midst of it, you see Gonzalo Arrondo and Hugo Fisher. And you see Hugo slumped against one of the serving tables with a blooded nose. And
they're fighting.
And Gonzalo with his with one hand holding his shirt and his fist being held back by Alex Lobert.
Rudi will rush to split them up for certain, use his size and it's something that he can help.
So roll for me a strength. How aggressive do you want to be?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to
yeah, exactly. Just go wading in.
No, I would rather use maybe just my size, get in between, and then use my charisma and say, "What is wrong with you? How dare you? Okay. People are mourning here. A woman has lost her sister.
Okay.
What is this scuffle for?
Okay.
Behave yourselves, gentlemen."
Okay, let's give a roll for that. Before we start, what was Rudi's record as a fighter?
It was 9-0 officially.
No. Here's to an unbeaten record.
Take a shot, everyone.
So strength or charisma? I don't know.
Let's do a strength to see how ably you get between them to start with.
I'm not as strong as I used. Oh, total of 3.
3. Okay. You sort of you lean in to get between them, and you sort of try and push between. You know the arm that he's holding onto the shirt with. You try and get between that arm to knock it away. You can't quite manage that, but you're between the two of them. But he's still very much got hold of the shirt. Luckily, Alex has got hold of his arm. Could you roll your charisma, please, to see if you can save it with your beautiful words?
Yes, charisma is a total of 9.
Oh,
Okay.
As he matured,
that's a bit more like it.
uses his mind more than so his body.
He's a poet boxer.
So we kind of know what you want to say. You happy with that, or do you want to say it again? So you're between them. His fist back, but
I
he's
want
held.
them to make feel bad that they're behaving so uncivilized during such a, after 2 people have died, and I'm I'm asking them what is the meaning of this, awful. And stop right now. Yes, these are my points.
Gonzalo, who looks very upset about the whole thing, says, "That's exactly what I was telling this piece of work. This poor woman," he points at this Stella,
Mm-hmm.
is going through what we can't imagine, and yet this guy decides to make a big scene because the breakfast is a bit cold and she's not getting her food quickly enough. Like, what kind of thinking is that?
I would return the question and bounce it back to you. And you believe, Mr. Gonzalo, that starting a fight is the appropriate response? And you, sir, Herr Fischer, there are more concerning matters than food being cold. And if I say that, it must be serious.
My goodness, it is. This is the most deadly serious part we've had so far. Miss Arondo's sort of let go of his grip a little bit as you've come in, and he's lowering his other fist, which Alex is sort of settling down. Hugo sort of wipes the blood off his nose with the cuff of his shirt and pulls himself up a little bit. And he says, "It's terribly sad what Miss O'Neill's been gone through, but as a chef myself, I was just talking. I just wanted to make a point to the chef here that, as people are going through their darkest point, we need to feel secure in what we're eating and what we're drinking, and it just wasn't up to standard, and it just enraged me."
As soon as as soon as Rudi charges in, can I stay in the doorway roughly, but turn my back on everything going on in the dining room?
You can, yeah.
I just want to keep an eye in the other direction in case this is being staged as a distraction.
Nice. Roll an education for me, please.
Educación.
Exactly.
That's a 6 plus 4, 10.
Okay, so far you can see nothing, but if anything does happen while you're looking there, I will let you know because you will see it. If that makes sense.
As for what the chef Fisher here, for some reason, Rudi does relate with that. so he fixes his tie or shirt, whatever, and then like a parent says to both of them, "Now both of you gentlemen, behave, apologize to one another, and apologize to Miss O'Neill and the rest of the crew, and then return to your seats."
Hey, Legendary, you alright? You're doing well. So yeah, Gonzalo sort of calms down a little, and Alex leads him over to the table that him and Carla are at, and sort of just takes him away, tries to calm him down a bit. Hugo's a bit more stressed about it, and he grabs, he does what we'll call does a Tony. He grabs a croissant and a bit of meat, and he stalks off out of the room in a bit of a huff, I guess. You will see him, Tony, because where you're stood, you will see him go through the stairs. Go past you, past the stairs, heading for the back of the ship, as far as you can tell. You know, the day bar.
Which side?
To the starboard side.
Okay. So the bigger number cabins, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Okay, I'll just shift my position very slightly so I can watch and make sure he does go all the way down, at least as far as the day bar. He doesn't stick his head in a cabin or anything.
No, straight to the day bar. You see, and then he stops outside the door, takes out a cigarette case, sparks up a cigarette, and then just breathes out a couple of times, and then walks into the day bar.
Okay. For the time being, I will let him be. I don't really have any reason to pursue him. Which is naturally when the gunshot will ring out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But of course, it'd be wrong not to.
But then I'm getting sick and tired of being the first person to get there and get his shoes covered in blood.
Yeah, you are the most suspicious, but as someone else has posted, they're pretty certain it's you that's done it. You just have this little blackout thing.
Oh, yes. Once things return to normal, there's not a great deal of point in keeping watch anymore because the distraction will be over anyway. Mm-hmm. Can I pop up towards the bridge to see if I can spot the captain?
You certainly can. So we've said before that the bridge isn't on the map, but it's kind of behind the lounge bar. It's accessible, but there's a locked door, of course. You can. You wander up and rat-tat-tat on the door, and the door does open. It's a bridge officer. You can see the captain behind, but of course he's not answered the door. It's not his job. Mm-hmm. Can I help you, Mr. Guerrero, I believe?
Yes, you can stand aside. I need to speak with the captain, please.
He sort of looks at you finally and looks over at Captain Larice, who nods, and he says, "That's okay. I'll come. You can stand aside, but I'll come and meet you at the door. Let's stand over. If you want to talk, we can stand by the railing. The Mediterranean is a beautiful sight at this time of day." And he walks out to join you.
Excellent. Once we're out of earshot of anyone on the bridge, it's just the two of us, effectively.
Just the two of us.
I'm going to say a couple of questions. First of all, have you had any luck locating my stolen property?
As of so far, we have not had luck. Of course, we've not been able to look in cabins at the moment because you were all confined to cabins. But we looked around the crew areas, the kitchen, the empty B cabins, and I had some of the staff do quick search around the bars, and nothing so far.
Okay. Just bear in mind that should you find it, there's a reasonable possibility that the person who has it is a double murderer.
Okay.
The next question I have is, do you know a person by the name Philippe Macron?
Philippe Macron, yes. He's like a kitchen porter. He'll take orders down to the kitchen and bring the food up. A bit of a gopher, if you know what I mean.
Is he in fact French?
All our best staff are, so.
Okay. I find myself curious about the exact whereabouts of Philippe Macron during the first murder.
Why is that, sir?
I'm curious about many things. This is one of the things I'm curious about. And I was wondering if you could ask your crew to vouch for his presence or absence at that moment.
No, I could look and see if he was theoretically on shift, of course, but it would be the kitchen who he answers to. He sort of walks over, he sort of, bear with me a second, and he walks back over and he sort of flicks through a ledger. So he was, at that time he was on duty.
Would it be possible to speak to the chef de cuisine to find out if he was in fact present?
I'm sure that would sort of sex. Right now, of course, during breakfast would not be the best. The breakfast. He was the same gentleman that was working the evening, the way he worked the shifts. But when he's cleaned up and finished up in about half an hour, I'd be happy for you to meet with him on the lounge bar if you wish to talk.
Thank you. I'd appreciate that. I'm also interested in whether or not you could give me permission to examine the kitchen myself.
Roll a charisma for me, please.
Oh. 1 + 4, 5. Sorry, 1 + 3.
Oh no! He frowns at you a little and says, "What? Do you feel that we've not done the job properly ourselves, sir?"
I was hoping to search for some better salami, possibly a good breakfast gin, and maybe some fresher steaks for this evening.
There's no more fresh food for this evening, sir. It's our last day at sea.
You are perpetually disappointing me, Captain. Very well. Thank you for your time.
That's okay, sir.
What time should I meet the chef de cuisine?
So we'll say the breakfast started at 7:30. It'll probably be about 8 now. So about 8:30, sir.
Right, and that's in the lounge bar.
The lounge bar just behind us.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate your help.
No problem. If there's anything else, just ask. And he says, by the way, I know you said that you'd like us to stop at sea, but I've had orders. I relayed it in about what happened, and I had orders that we need to get to Marseille on time as possible. Important orders from the French government, in fact, sir. There's someone we need to get back on time.
Someone who is urgently required in France.
Yes, sir.
Would you care to share who?
Charisma, please.
Ooh. Okay. That's a bit better. That's a 6 + 3. It's a 9.
All I was told, sir, is Mr. Arondo. Or Monsieur Arondo, should I say. Monsieur Arondo, sir.
The cartographer.
Wow. He draws maps, he starts fights, and he's important in France.
Just our average sort of passenger, sir.
Well. Very well. Thank you for your assistance. I really do appreciate it. And I'm aware that we haven't exactly been the greatest of fortune for you on this trip. But then on the other hand, I feel we're more lucked against than unlucky ourselves. So,
I believe the phrase is a Jonah, sir.
it is, and I feel very strongly that you would need to find the person who is inflicting this, because this is not a supernatural matter. It wasn't a
It's
bad luck.
It's an
that led to
ecumenical
someone
matter,
being
sir.
stabbed.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Somebody wasn't stabbed, unluckily, shot, unluckily. My cabin wasn't broken into through misfortune.
Yes. Okay. Okay. But, come back to me if you need anything else. But of course, 8:30. Be here. I'll make sure the chef is up. It's busy. It's the end of his shift, so he'll have that sort of. It's his free time then, sir, before he goes to bed for the afternoon.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
And I shall head back down to join Rudi.
Okay. Back to Rudi. It is. Rudi's been plotting in chat. Rudi's got about 30 important things lined up. I'm quite excited. Go on, Rudi. So the fight has stopped. You're right.
After the fighting has stopped, okay.
People are serving their food again, but it's a very strange atmosphere. It's probably just as well that Durant has left. So.
I'm watching each and every one to see if there is anything suspicious. I don't think I will find anything, but I will focus my attention on Jean Durand and Alex Lobert.
Okay.
Are they eating, for starters? Do they seem hungry?
So Alex, Carla, and Gonzalo are sat at the table. Alex is eating okay, from what you can tell. Carla's taken very small portions, but she looks like the sort of lady that always takes small portions. Let's put it that way. And then the other person you asked for is Jean.
Mm-hmm.
Jean's eating a bit, but he's immediately gone for the breakfast wine, Tony's favourite kind of wine.
Oh, breakfast wine.
Breakfast wine, and with Camille next to him is talking quite loudly. They're at the table with the Smiths, and they've been quite loud.
How about Gonzalo? Is he eating?
He's looking incredibly grumpy, and he appears to be on a short of something.
What do you mean on a short?
Like a shot of something, a gin or a vodka, something clear. He's got. There's a black coffee at the table and some sort of a toast, but he's not touching it.
Through the perspective of Rudi, the one who will be eating the most is the most suspect because they have. Burned the most calories the last night fighting and killing.
The box is mine.
So, I will start by going to Alex and Carla Lobert. Actually, I want to join forces with Tony to perform these interrogations. So I will go and find Tony first.
Okay.
But your timing is pretty good. I guess as you just leave the dining room to look for him, he comes back down the stairs again. Because I'm guessing you were there as the fight was subsiding, just to keep things calm. Big Rudi, keep an eye on things. So as it comes,
I patronize them. Yes.
Yeah. Just stare at them until they eat, and then Tony comes down the stairs and joins you at the door.
My dear Tony, have you found anything?
Well, a couple of things. Yes, I think we've established a couple of the underlying problems with the ship. The bread is too old, the cheese is too young, and the wine is too Hungarian. There are a couple of things. Yes, I'm got an opportunity in half an hour or so to have a quick question of the chef de cuisine to confirm whether or not Philippe Macron was present when he was supposed to be during his shift, the time of the first murder.
His shift? Was he working on the kitchen?
Yes, apparently he was rostered to work the kitchen.
Oh, he twirls his mustache, Rudi does, and says, that could explain the blood.
Yeah, we'll find out if there was any reason, if he was present, absent, coming and going, and whether or not there was any reason for him to be covered in blood. And then perhaps we can interrogate him ourselves.
Yes, that's why I came to you. Perhaps we should team up now and make sure that we have two pair of eyes and two pair of ears while we talk with Jean Durand and Alex Lobert.
And there is one other thing. We have an interesting a hanging opposite in linguistic terms. One of those contradictions. Something that has a disconnect, doesn't really make sense. Apparently, the most important person on board this ship, the person who has to be back in Marseille exactly on schedule, and the ship cannot be delayed, according to the French government, is the cartographer who's staying in the cheapest cabin on board.
Yes, I saw him. Is he the one who is drinking wine? No, he is.
He's
Or
drinking.
Jean was.
He's drinking a spirit. He's the one that started the fight, and now he's drinking a.
And he was moody. He didn't seem very pretty
Yeah.
okay, right?
Yeah, no, he didn't drink.
Yes, I've seen. He seemed shaken, and he's deluging in alcohol. He doesn't seem suspect. By why? Why would the government insist that he? That's.
I feel it's
Interesting.
something we should ask him.
Or perhaps we shouldn't give ourselves away. Perhaps we should ask someone else regarding him. Whatever the case may be, we should go to the dining room and start asking some questions, the proper questions this time.
Absolutely. Yes. Let's go.
Rudi cracks his fingers like and then goes to interrogate.
Roll a charisma check for me, please, Rudi.
Just for the cracking of fingers.
I want to see how intimidating it is.
3 + 4. Kinda.
Pretty good. One hand they crack, but one hand seems to crack more than the others.
Ow!
It's still pretty impressive, though.
Okay, who are we going to go first?
I don't know. I think we need to speak with Jean Durand. We need to speak with Alex Lobert, with Gonzalo Arrondo, that will probably cover us until our meeting with the chef de cuisine. If
Alright,
we
let's
start with those three.
Let's start with Alex Lobert. He is the one who was eating the most, and I find that suspicious.
Yeah.
Says the most suspicious man in the room.
Yes. The guy who's eating the entire side of beef for breakfast and he's standing next to the guy who's literally up to his armpits in blood. Saying, who looks suspicious around here?
Okay, so you're heading over to Alex first.
Mm-hmm.
So if you remember, the tables are tables of 4, dotted around the circular tables of 4, and it's Alex and Carla are sat with Gonzalo. So there's one chair free. There's some empty chairs around. If one of you wants to pull it over, of course. If you want to sit or stand, it's how you want to go with it. They look up when you approach. A neutral expression, sort of a good morning, Mr. Otto, Mr. Guerrero. Gonzalo looks a bit sheepish, and he said, "I'm sorry you had to see that, Mr. Otto. A situation that I wasn't happy about."
It happens when the blood is boiling, and it is a dreadful situations we find ourselves in. He takes a chair, Rudi does, and turns it around and sits the cool way, the cool way at sitting at chairs.
If it's the 30s, I think he patented it. He's the first man to ever do it. I like it. Now we're doing a Rudi from now on.
Says Mr. Alex, how are you feeling?
About the events of yesterday. It's horrific, unexpected. I didn't know Mr. Hassan very well. We'd had a few conversations, but nothing much. But Shirley, we chatted with her numerous times. Myself and Carla got on very well. They're both so friendly. Well, they were. He sort of pauses for a minute, sadly. Just so.
When he pauses, Rudi gives a glance to Tony and twirls his mustache, and he really needs to sense his motives right now to see if he's honest.
Well, we'll go with this. As I've said before, judging people, I think, is a charisma thing. Because the rule says deal with others, socialise, and I think that's that sort of thing. So roll a charisma. Tony, are you paying attention?
Yes.
Yeah, roll
yes,
a charisma for me as well, please.
5 total,
5
unfortunately.
total.
8 total.
8 total.
Nice. Nice, Tony.
Rudi, he seems legit. Tony, he does seem upset about it. He does seem, honestly. From what you can tell. He says, yeah, we apart from last night, I think when the Colonel, took them under his charge, we drank with the 2 women every night, pretty much. Until the bars closed their doors and we headed back to the rooms. I apologise if we kept you awake on any of those nights, as I know, Mr. Guerrero, you were next to us.
There is absolutely no need to apologise to me.
Okay, well, it's heartbreaking, We were gonna, we've made promises to visit each other, And
Yes, it is truly heartbreaking. Maybe he eats some of his food if there's something that can be shared. Like, yes, it's very tragic, very tragic.
we talked about everything, really. From their lives, our lives, global politics, the war, everything. They were just a delight to talk to, and I hope Stella can get over this.
It's something you could perhaps help her with.
In what way do you mean? He sort of looks over at the Colonel, trying to be friendly with her. Not perfectly friendly, but
Well, it seems to me that there is nothing anyone can do to bring Shirley back from the dead. But we find ourselves isolated on a ship, one that we share with a murderer. Potentially a double murderer. Or 2 single murderers.
Which is even worse.
I mean, yes, on average, I'd rather share the ship with a single double murderer than 2 single murderers, yes.
it's all statistics at the end of the day.
If there's anything you can do, anything you can remember that might be helpful in identifying who was responsible for her killing, that could definitely help put Stella's mind at ease.
Carla sort of tugs on Alex's shoulder just a little, and sort of looks across at Gonzalo, who's looking down his drink, and Alex says, Mr. Aranda, do you mind if I believe Mr. Guerrero, Mr. Otto, you're wanting a private conversation at this moment with us?
That would be preferential,
Naturally.
yes.
Naturally.
Do you mind, Mr. Aranda? And he sort of grunts a little bit and picks up his drink, leaving the coffee and the toast, and walks over and plops himself down at, there's an empty table. Not everyone's there, so he plops himself down at an empty table and sort of motions over to the bar for another one.
Does he punch anybody in the face on the way?
No, he seems quite calm and a bit morose now. Maybe a bit self-pitying, feeling a bit bad for what he's done,
Okay.
And you see Carla sort of clench her fist a little bit, like a bit nervous and give herself a little, like the Catholic cross on herself. I'm not Catholic, so I'm not very good at what the side is. Heart, testicles, spectacles, wallet, and watch, isn't it, from the film? I can't remember.
It is.
Yeah. Alex says, so I know who you guys are. You're the two that it's said that you found or you were searching for like a religious icon. His voice is very low at this point. He sort of leant in.
Where did you hear that from?
I've heard rumours. Carla, my wife, is a very religious lady, and that's why we're married so young. No, we'd heard of the bracelet, and we heard rumours that there were people on the ship looking for people, who knows, just on the ship looking for such an item. Apparently you've been trailed for quite some time.
I presume, I asked the GM, I presume you haven't been talking to anyone about this, so
No.
should we find it suspicious that he knows, right?
People know you've been, well, you came from Casablanca. People know where you've been, and you've been quite open. They know that you're famous as
Yes, we're
museum
celebrities.
curator. Yeah, exactly. You saved
But
Bern.
I haven't told anyone about the bracelet, though, because that was his prime quest or something.
The only person that knows anything about the bracelet that you've talked to is the captain, and he only knows what it looks like. You've not spoken to anyone, and that was only last night. You've spoken to no one about the bracelet. You got in the ship, Tony stashed it, that's it.
Kept giving a worried look to Tony, but then I return and look at at Alex's eyes to see if he's being honest.
Roll a charisma for me, please.
8.
Ooh, better.
Getting closer, yes. Moving up.
He seems honest from what you can tell. He seems nervous and stressed, but that could be the situation.
Yeah.
It's someone breaking cover, if nothing else, so...
I need you to tell me, Alex, from whom you have heard this information, because it is a private information. We haven't been sharing it. And I tell him, and I touch him by the shoulder, I just touch him. I don't squeeze or anything, but I think my mere size would be an intimidating factor.
Yeah, but your very presence is quite intimidating. And you were the man that saved a city by charging someone through the wall of a train, after all. And what was your boxing record again?
Officially 9-0, but people say that I must be 10-0 now.
10-0, I'd say. He sort of looks around as if the wall's got his, but no one's paying attention, that you can tell of at least.
Yes.
And he says, you see, he says, I guess my enemy is my friend, I guess. And he says, so Alex is only one of my names, I suppose. I'm a Catalonian. Me and my wife are Catalonians. We're travelling under a French passport. But we you know how things are going in Spain at the minute. And it's just there's rumours. There's rumours that there's powers that be are trying to get hold of this bracelet to swing the war. The rumours about this, about get the direct ear of the Lord. You can literally pray requests directly to the ear of the Lord, and Carla does her, crosses herself twice, kisses her little necklace at that point. He's like, that's terrifying, and that's just something which we're trying to stop, I guess. We'd much rather see it either lost again, cast to the bottom of the sea, or behind
I interrupt
40.
him, if I may,
Yeah.
and I say, Mr. Lombert, you are avoiding the answer to my question. Who told you about the bracelet? And maybe I touch him, like I squeeze, like not exactly squeeze him, but like I seem to be more tense, and I try to show him that.
I need you. There's going to be a roll happening, but I need to know what Ben's doing at the same time, if that makes sense.
I am standing next to the table, and as Rudy starts to lean forward, I'm going to very deliberately take out a cigarette and tap it a few times on the packet before putting it in my mouth and lighting it while staring very intently at him. I'm going to make him desperately uncomfortable.
Right, then what we're going to do is we're going to chain a couple of bits together. Could Ben, could you roll a charisma first, please?
I can try.
Thank you. So Alex is looking between the two of you, catching each other's eyes, getting the vibe.
That's 4 + 3. That's a 7.
Okay, and then Rudi, are you pushing the strength now, or are you still trying to just intimidate?
Intimidation mainly.
Then let's go for a charisma with you, but I'm taking Tony's role as part of yours.
6 total.
Okay. He'll say, I've been working intelligence for the Republican side of the war, and they've heard rumours. I don't know. They found that maybe intercepted something about these plans. It's a long shot, We're doing pretty well at the minute, and I know that both sides are looking for anything, You know what Spain's like. Anything religious that could pull the people together. People are getting desperate, We just want to see the thing gone, quite frankly.
I do believe him, right? He seems honest.
He seems honest. Your roles that you've done so far, and I think Tony did a role that suggested that everything he said so far is honest.
Okay, then I leave my hand from his shoulder. I remove my hand from his shoulder. And I say, I understand. Although, yes. I twirl my mustache a bit and I think again.
Are you twirling a moustache and you've even got a cat on your lap? This is so big.
She's black, so it's not very busy. But there is a cat around.
There's this peak John.
It's a peak John.
Perhaps we could make a break, so I should feed her by now, because she won't let me play. She's not well fed.
That's fine. How do you want to finish here, John? You go for another half an hour if we take a 5-minute and do a little burst for the end? You happy with that?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So should we take a 5-minute break, quick toilet break, drink break, cat feeding break, and we'll do 30 minutes, which should be enough for another interview or two, which will set us up quite nicely for next time, I guess.
Lovely.
Yeah?
Lovely indeed, yes.
Cheers,
sounds
guys. Right, we'll be back in 5 minutes. We'll all think about the cat, and we'll take a break. Okay, right. Hello, we're back. The cat's been fed, and everyone here is perfectly happy. Thank you for hanging around, those that hung around. Let's carry on. Where were we? You were talking with Alex and Carla, who had told you what they needed to know, and then Alex leans forward and says, "But can you, I'd rather you guys didn't make this known to everyone else, our situation, and that we're travelling under false passports."
Jawohl, jawohl. Perhaps there is another who should inquire, Tony. I think you know who I mean. Thank you for your cooperation, Herr Alex. We shall keep in touch.
Yes.
Just stop who it is from getting that bracelet. That's all I ask of you. It would be horrific. I could only imagine all of Spain following that bracelet.
We'll do our best. And I'm making a mental note about the way this guy has felt. I'm a Republican travelling undercover. Who can I possibly trust?
The Italian
I
and
know
the German.
Italian and the German.
Yeah, exactly. It's because he knows that you're, and we've spoken about it before. That's why I felt it good, because you're men of science and of the arts.
Yes.
And you've discussed about your stances on such things. Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. Well, I'm happy with whichever order you want to do it. So who are we going after next? Are we going to speak to Gonzalo Arrondo next, or are we going to speak with Jean Durand?
Jean Durand is the main suspect now. I have a hunch.
Okay.
Next on the hit list.
A little sparrow told me. I use that expression.
Very true.
Clip it.
Okay. Is Durand in the dining room?
Yeah, so Jean was sat over there with Camille draped over him. They were with Robert and Mary Smith.
Then we should go and have a word, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I will stride over and approach the table and ask Jean if he has a moment for a quick word.
Of course. Please, would you like to take a seat here, or would you like me to chat with you elsewhere?
It's a lovely morning. Perhaps out by the rail, if that's acceptable to you.
He sort of nods and he says, "Well, I felt like it was time to get a breath of fresh air anyway." And he reaches into his breast pocket and pulls out a cigarette case and stands up to follow you. Camille sort of stands up next to him and says, "Where are you going?" And Jean says, "I'm just going for a smoke with my friends." And she looks to the two of you and says, "Do you mind if I come too?"
It would be discourteous to refuse a lady.
Rudy's deciding how discourteous he wants to be, I think.
Okay, but maybe she's yes. He did seem skeptical for a bit, but he nods and goes along.
If she's eager to come, I'm eager to hear why, basically.
Something like it, yes.
Okay. So the four of you head over to the railing by the shuffleboard, and he sort of Jean walks straight over to the railing, and he lights his cigarette, offers you his lighter. So has it sparked, holds it up to either Tony, your smoker, aren't you? I think you've said you've taken it.
Absolutely.
I don't know if Rudy's or not, but sort of.
Oh no! I say I used to be a boxer, and I tell you my story.
A boxer. What was your record?
I tell him the record, and I highlight the knockouts of my career.
He sort of seems very impressed with it, and he briefly. There's a moment where he starts talking about a role that.
How about you?
There was this role.
How about you?
There was this role I once
Mr.
played.
Jean?
Oh! Do you want to?
Are you an athlete yourself? Perhaps are you working out?
Well, I have to stay fit, of course, for the roles. You were talking boxing, right? I don't know if you saw it. There was a film. There was a film called The Undefeated, which I starred in last year. It didn't go global, of course, but I had to get very fit for that. I played a boxer, in fact, much like yourself. I had to get in good shape for that. Camille sort of walks up a bit. She's a bit over grabby, especially for that sort of era. She sort of runs her hand down his chest and says, "He's still got all the muscles from it." And he sort of gently, but smiling, moves her hand away from him. So not in front of the gentleman. Not in front of the gentleman. Come here.
Monsieur Durand, I have a question. It's something that's always interested me about the acting profession.
Oh, please. I'm always happy to talk to a fan, Mr. Guerrero.
It is common, as I understand it, for actors to adopt a nom de plume for their careers.
Of course, yes.
And sometimes the reasoning behind it is partly to introduce the idea of a discrete national identity for the actor. I'm familiar with some American actors, for example, who chose French names. I was wondering, is your name your own, or is it one that
Stage
you
name.
adopted?
Roll a charisma for one, please.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's not too bad. 6 + 3, that's a 9.
Jean, if that is his real name, smiles at you and he says, you know your stuff, Mr. Guerrero. My real name is indeed Jean Durand, and I am indeed French. But when the films are pushed further afield, they have been known to put different names on it. I'm known differently in America and in Britain too, but my true name is Jean.
Oh, thank you for assuaging my curiosity.
Oh, not at all, not at all. Camille butts in again and she says he's so talented and his films are shown all around the world. I think John is what they call you, isn't it, in other places? He smiles, he says, yeah, that is not very clever. It's just a foreign version of my name, I guess.
Yes, well, I was wondering, you've seen a lot of the world as an actor. You've travelled widely.
I've travelled across most of Western Europe, Africa a few times. This is not my first trip to Morocco. To America, Canada. Absolutely, I've travelled.
I'm interested in what you think of the current situation in Spain.
Current situation in Spain. Can you both roll for me again? It'll be a charisma, please.
Okay.
Gladly.
This one's gladly. Oh no!
6.
How quickly Rudi changes.
6 total.
6 total.
Same.
Jean pauses and thinks for a minute. He says, I haven't been to Spain for a while. It must be said, a few years. It's terrible what's happening there. I'm not a political man, Mr. Guerrero, Mr. Otto. I'm really not. And neither of us are we? Are we, Camille? Can you roll another charisma, please?
Yes.
Both of us.
Yes, but yeah, both of you. You're both there and hanging out. And
Oh, that's a bit better. That's 6 + 3, 9.
6 total.
okay, you don't notice anything, Rudi. You're sort of nodding along. Tony notices that Camille's not so. When he says we're not at all political, I guess she's like, there's a paused moment in her where her smile freezes before she nods again, and she says, yes. I know nothing. I just enjoy traveling the world with this beautiful man, talented gentleman.
I'm going to try something. I'm going to turn to Camille.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to exclude John, but I'm going to face more towards Camille, see if I can catch her eye.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to say something like, by the grace of God, soon at least the suffering will be over, and cross myself and see what she does.
She smiles and she sort of agrees and she says, "Yeah, by the grace of God," and she crosses herself. But hang on a sec. So does John.
Okay.
They seem honest about it, or it's just a gesture for them?
I'll tell you what I'm going to do for you, Rudi. You have a history in religious religious artifacts and findings and things. I'm going to let you make a charisma with a history roll, please. An understanding of the religious ways. You're in that sanatorium for 2 years with only the boxing and your books. So you alone.
I have it's gonna be a success either way because I have a total of 6+ die.
Aha. Just
But
how
the die has
successful.
failed, right?
Oh no, 6 plus 0, that is.
So it is 6 + 3, 9.
6 plus 3, 9.
Gonna grill them.
Jean seems to go through the motions as someone who goes to confession every 4 months. You know, the guy that does Kiesti. Camille seems a bit more
Sincere about
a bit
it.
more sincere.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
How about you, Montabogel, Camille? Have you been to Spain lately? Not lately. He's trying to think of something to say, but he might seem suspicious. Rudi might seem suspicious right now, and makes a note to Tony like, save the situation. Like,
I'll try. I'm going to say, even if politics aren't your thing, any insight you could give me of the situation on the ground, I'd appreciate. Because it appears I'm due to be called up to be sent there soon. Fighting alongside Franco's forces, and any information you can give me as to the situation on the ground would be, but potentially life-saving.
Oh, that's very clever. That's very clever. Roller.
yes, good save. That's pretty good save.
Roller. You always do what I do, John. The idea comes to my head, and I know kind of what I want, but I can't quite.
Was it a daring do? Maybe.
It's
Tony's
quite like
daring doing.
but like he's sort of cutting in on you. If he does it while waving a sword around, it's probably quite daring. While walking along the edge of the ship. I'll just give you charisma for now for me, please.
Okay.
There was a certain swash in his buckle, but
Okay, it's not what you call perfect. It's 4 + 3 is 7.
okay. You see a slight smile in Camille's eyes, I guess. She's like, "Oh, Mr. Guerrero, you're an Italian, of course. And you, Mr. Otto, German, but you would be too old for. Beg my pardon, of course, but surely you'd be too old for combat at your age."
Depends what kind of combat. Military combat, yes. Inside the ring, I feel as young as I was in my prime.
Oh, your prime. What was your record in your prime, Mr. Otto?
It was 9-0.
9-0. Yes, don't know. She says, well, every man on the ground, Mr. Guerrero, would certainly make a difference, I would imagine. Jean is not, let's say, not that I know much, and Jean knows even less than me, but there's terrible things happening there, and the quicker it comes to an end, the better. For all concerned, I would imagine.
I think the situation has taken a very serious turn. How about you? Can you tell us how you two met? Who was the one who instigated this relationship? And I'm trying to see if it's like who's the richer and how's the expression? If it's like Camille who is drawn to Jean because he's famous or actor or whatever, or is the other way around? Is like Jean overly ecstatic about Camille?
Yeah, that's a very good question, actually. So they're both, of course, before I go into it, they're both, of course, he's a very handsome leading man, and she's a very beautiful woman. So if they say that looks find a level, they've found a level, I guess. Yeah. But
so how about the story, how they met? And,
so the discussion. So you ask it, and Jean looks at Camille, and she leans in, sort of nuzzles her head in his sort of shoulder, and rubs his chest and his six pack again. And she sort of jokes a little bit, and she says, "Well, I must admit, it happened. It started a few years ago. She sort of smiles at herself. She thinks I'd find out where he would be going for screenings and where he was filming, and I'd make sure I was there. I'd make sure I was there for him. A smile, a hello, try and catch his eye. He's an amazing actor, a very, very handsome man. You sort of see Jean blush a little bit, and he takes over the story. So of course, I don't want to blow my own trumpet, of course, but when I go out, there's always a whole group of people around, men and women that want to talk to you and sort of get tickets or get close. And I didn't really notice for the first few months, but then I started noticing the same beautiful face everywhere I went. It seemed like she knew where I'd be. To start with, it made sense if I was filming somewhere or a screening. But then if I was out in Paris for the night, for the weekend, she'd be there in the high trendy bars. Trendy's not a word then, classy bars. And she took over again. And I found out he was such a handsome, talented man that I just wanted him to notice me. I wanted him to, I wanted the chance to meet him. I knew that if I could meet him, I could, she sort of giggles, I could win him over to me.
Yes, win his heart.
Absolutely. And
Very romantic.
I like to think I've done that, haven't I, Jean? And he sort of smiles, and he sort of takes a hand off his chest and sort of kisses it. Says, "You've certainly done that, Camille. You certainly."
Oh, love. The things we do for love, I say.
Oh, absolutely.
Who says that? Jean.
Jean. He says, "Yes, it's
Okay.
she's I guess I have a lot of
Okay, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna drop the bomb.
Yeah.
I say, yes, I remember I was in love once. I was so much in love I would die and kill for her. And then I check his reaction.
Are you both checking the reaction?
Yes, please.
You know what role that
feels like the moment.
You know what role that is then, please. That is a charisma.
Look at this. Oh, no. It's a bit low at 6. Damn it.
That's a total of 9.
Oh,
Nice.
saved.
Only for the sake.
Rudy's just caught in the story of love. He's thinking back to past conquests and his broken hearts from the past. and when he was at primary school, and you know the little kiss behind the bike shed and all that sort of stuff. All those memories. But Tony's with it at least. And John sort of is caught up from it. He goes, "Yes, I would die for Camille, but kill. I don't know if I could kill for Camille." And she looks at him a bit funny, and he's like, "But I would die for you. I would jump in front of a train for you, my dear. It goes into flowery language, you know. If I could stop the earth for but a second, I would. If I could give all my money and all my favours to make you happy, of course I would. To bring a smile to your face, I would employ anyone you needed for you. I would give your family the money they need, as I have done, just to make you happy, my love."
Quick question: how fit does Camille look?
How fit?
How strong? How lithe? How?
Oh, okay, like old-fashioned fit, not 2010 fit.
No, sorry.
Yeah, she looks pretty athletic. Like she's not got swimmer's shoulders or anything, if you know what I mean. But she's
fit enough perhaps to vault over a balcony.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, Johnny really was the person.
Well, so I mean, back of my mind, what's going through my head is, I have absolutely no reason to believe that the person who shot, Shirley, was the person who she saw with the bracelet. So we could be looking for a couple, and everything we've heard recently has implied there is a couple. So it's entirely possible the reason she fled aft was because the person she'd seen with the bracelet was in that companionway, or was visible at the... Sorry, she fled forward. Was visible at the aft of the ship, and she thought she wanted to get some distance between her and that person, and ran straight into someone else. She may even have had a chance to, you know, open her mouth and ask for help or something. She may have looked panicked and worried and frightened, and that was enough to spell her death. So, we didn't necessarily get what we were after with the last bombshell. I'm going to try and drop something else.
Oh, okay. Big options. Okay.
An ace up your sleeve.
Well, I'm going to try.
It's hard to take him seriously with his wet crotch, but we'll try.
Yeah. I am fairly confident that both of these people in front of me are Catholic, based on the way they reacted earlier. So, I'm going to ask Camille, but not by name. I'm just going to face her when I say it. What she had heard of a valuable Catholic relic on the ship.
A valuable Catholic relic on this ship. There's a valuable relic on this ship.
There is. He's called Rudi.
He does look quite valuable, and he's a relic. I wouldn't say that. Roll a both of you. Could you roll a charisma? Rudi, you can add your history, please.
Oh, that's my best roll. Oh, and I rolled a 6.
And that's a 5 total for me.
My total is 11. Dun, dun,
Oh,
dun.
oh, oh, oh. 11.
Yes, it must be a critical or something.
Yeah. When relic is
Yeah.
mentioned, I guess Jean.
No, sorry, it is 12 actually.
12. Oh
It
my
is
goodness.
4 plus 2 plus 6. Sorry, it's 12.
So when the word like relic is mentioned, Jean is blank to it, I guess, but Camille has a flicker of something in her eyes, I guess. Whether it's excitement or knowledge, she's a Catholic girl, as you've said, you know. But yeah, there's something sparks.
You can trust us, Fräulein Camille.
If what relic is it?
I mean, I think at this point, it's probably worth at least giving a not a description, but saying it. I'm just trying to think if I should lie to her. I
Do
feel
lie.
very strongly I should lie to her.
Yes. Please do lie.
I'm going to say a piece of the True Cross.
She looks confused. So, one of the 78,000 pieces of the True Cross there is in the circulation.
One of those, yes.
She looks a bit
Yeah, but this one's better because it's signed.
She looks a bit surprised at it. She's a bit confused at it. Jean looks a bit like, oh, really? Kim looks a bit confused, says, and then she sort of frowns at the two of you and says, Mr. Guerrero, I think you're pulling my leg. Come on, Jean. Let's. I could do with finishing my my food before they clear up. If you don't mind, Mr. Guerrero, Mr. Otto.
I don't mind at all, but I would just like one more question answered, if you don't mind.
Just one more thing.
Just one more thing. When the gunshot went off last night, I'm curious about where you were, because it's possible that you saw something which you might have not thought was important at the time. But I'm trying to reconstruct what happened to Shirley. And if you could tell me where you were when you heard the gunshot, and then if you saw anybody, I mean, walking past, running past, who was around you at the time, who therefore couldn't have been doing it, anything like that.
Who have you asked?
Both of them, actually.
Camille frowns. She's like, I wish I could help you, but I'd gone back to my room. I'd seen the body of the other gentleman, Mr. Hassan, and it was very upsetting. I needed to go and I lied down. I took some tablets and just to sort of take the edge off the nerve, I guess. And Jean sort of nods a little bit, and he says, "She was there with me at the aft deck, and then she did excuse herself, saying that she was not feeling very well at all, and headed back down to
towards the cabin.
In the direction of our cabin,
yeah. Okay, thank you. That's exactly what I was expecting to hear. In fact, almost word for word. Excellent. Right. Thank you for your patience with us. I appreciate it.
Dankeschön. Yes.
It is 8:30. There is sort of a call out on the tannoy. Would Mr. Guerrero please come up to the lounge bar for your meeting?
Yes, I will do that.
What meeting? Wait a minute, Tony.
Come along, Rudi. You may have questions of your own.
Of course, but I don't know if you noticed, but there is something shady and sketchy about Camille She seems religious and she seemed to be aware of a relic, but when you misled her with the sign of the cross, she seems confused, as if not surprised and, and excited, confused, as if she must know about the bracelet. I have a feeling that she must know about the bracelet.
It's not just that. Even her boyfriend says she was walking in the direction of the shooting before it happened. And she was walking down the side of the ship that neither of us walked down. So she would have been invisible to us and perhaps to other people as she made that journey. And she claims not to have heard the shot, despite the fact, sleeping pills aren't instant, even though her cabin is pretty close to that lounge.
Yes, and to the stairs, indeed.
I'm feeling very strongly that there is a fighting chance she's learned how to use a pistol.
But Stella, but Shirley O'Neill said she said right before she died, that man.
Yeah.
Right?
Which makes me think that it's possible that the person that Shirley saw with the bracelet might have been Durand. But the person who killed Shirley might have been Camille.
All right.
Anyway,
where are you going? What sort of appointment you have? Is it with the captain?
If you recall, my friend, we are curious about a man called Philippe Macron.
Yes.
We don't talk about Macron. No.
I earlier had an opportunity to speak with the captain and asked if there was a chance for me to interview the chef de cuisine when his shift was over, because Philippe Macron works in the kitchen and was supposed to be on duty at the time of the first killing. Perhaps the chef can tell us if he was indeed in the kitchen, and if he was there any reason he might have had blood on his clothing?
Yes, perhaps we should inquire what he was cooking.
Yeah.
But I think we might be... No, we should leave no stone left unturned. So yes, we should rush and inquire.
And then when we come back, we have at least one more person we need to interview.
Sure.
Which one?
Gonzalo Arrondo. I need to find out why he's so important that he's going to have to be landed at Marseille on schedule, even though there's a murderer running around the ship, despite the fact he's not important enough to have a cabin on the deck.
Oh, really? Oh, no, indeed, yes. An excellent observation, Tony.
So I'm picturing that you two are talking this as you walk up the stairs towards the lounge
head
bar
up the
together.
stairs, yes.
Yeah.
As you get through to the top and open the door, you see a figure dressed all in black, standing over the dead body of who you can only tell could possibly be the head chef.
The captain?
The head chef, with a knife dripping in blood.
Dun, dun, dun.
And that is indeed where we'll leave it for the evening. Ready to come back next time.
Nice cliffhanger.
Oh, God.
Nice cliffhanger.